Hello, I'm Dr. Lisa Belisle. You are listening to or watching our video podcast, Radio Maine, where each week we explore and celebrate creativity and the human spirit. We are sponsored by the Portland Art Gallery in Portland, Maine. For more than a decade, I've had the privilege of speaking with hundreds of artists, creatives, and thoughtful individuals, many connected to the Portland Art Gallery, and many whose stories stretch far beyond Maine. This is the third in our solo episode series, where I offer reflections shaped by my own path as a physician, writer, leader, and mother. If you've listened to the last two episodes, you'll know that we've been navigating some deeply personal territory, exploring wayfinding, grief, and the quiet power of presence. Today, I want to talk about rhythm. Not the kind that lives in song, though that's part of it, but the rhythms of a creative life. The rhythms of returning to ourselves. Lately, I've found myself drawn to the idea of return, not as going back in time, but as an inner coming home. After periods of busyness, loss, or change, our nervous systems crave restoration, a movement from overdrive into alignment. In the Bountiful path, I've written about what it means to come back to ourselves, responding to cues that invite us to rest, to soften, and to listen anew. In a culture that prizes productivity, it can feel radical to say, I need rhythm. Not just output, not just direction, but a pulse that honors breath, pause, cycle, and season. One of the artists whose work speaks deeply to rhythm and emotional return is Emma Ballou. Her artists often explore the tension and harmony between outer and inner landscapes, blending softness and strength, movement and stillness. When I interviewed Emma on Radio Maine, she talked about the importance of honoring the creative impulse when it arrives, but also being patient with the quiet seasons. As an artist, she's intimately familiar with the ebb and flow of energy and how to channel it into color, texture, and feeling. Emma's art reminds me that creativity is not about force, it's about trust. Trusting our timing, our instincts, our capacity to begin again. In a recent piece on the Bountiful path, I reflected on how traditional Chinese medicine honors rhythm and seasonal shifts, not just in the natural world, but in our internal lives as well. Summer, in traditional Chinese medicine, represents the fire element, expansion, joy, outward energy, and connection. It's a time of brightness, movement, and heat. This is followed by a brief but important fifth season, late summer. Late summer is associated with the earth element, with the organs of digestion, the spleen and the stomach, and with the emotion of worry. It's a transitional season marked by slowing down, grounding, and reflecting. A time to nourish ourselves after the intensity of summer and before the contraction of fall. So often we try to push through transitions. The late summer invites us to slow down and digest, not just food, but experience, to process what we've taken in, to return to our center. As a doctor, I've realized how often our training can disconnect us from ourselves and from deeper wisdom. Some of the most depleting moments in my life weren't when I was busiest. They were when I ignored the rhythms my body and spirit were asking me to honor. And so I've started to listen differently. On long runs through the woods near our island home, in quiet mornings with books, tea, and a soft-lit lamp, in evenings spent writing instead of working late. These practices don't fix everything, but they ground me. They remind me that rhythm is where meaning lives. A few weeks ago, a reader of the Bountiful Path wrote, "Your story reminded me that growth doesn't follow a timeline and that it's never too late to begin again." That stayed with me, because so often we move through our days unaware of how much we're holding until we finally slow down long enough to feel it. And this doesn't happen in predictable ways. Whether it's through art, writing, or walking in the woods, these small pauses become portals. They remind us that creativity doesn't only arrive through effort, it often emerges through quiet permission. Creativity is rarely linear. One week, you may be full of ideas. The next, you'll feel stalled or empty. And yet, like the tide, the current always shifts again. This is something I've experienced in both writing and podcasting, and it's something I hear again and again from the artists we feature at the Portland Art Gallery. There are seasons for pushing forward and seasons for gestation, for fallow time, for integrating what you've seen or felt or endured. When I began the Bountiful path, I didn't have a 5-year plan. I had an urge to speak honestly, to invite people into a space that didn't require perfect polish, but did require presence. And people have shown up, because many of us are longing to reconnect with a pace that sustains rather than drains. Here's what I'm learning. To live in rhythm is to trust that even in moments of stillness or uncertainty, something is always forming. That rest isn't laziness, but intelligence. That return is not regression, but reconnection. And in that return, we begin again with more awareness, more wholeness, and more courage. So if you are listening today and feeling out of step, exhausted, uncertain, or simply out of rhythm, know this: it's okay to pause. It's okay to return. There is wisdom in your body, in your longing, in the pace that feels most true. And when you honor that pace, you're not falling behind. You're coming home. If you'd like to explore these themes more deeply, I invite you to subscribe to the Bountiful Path, my weekly Substack newsletter, where I share reflections and writing that extends these conversations. You can find past episodes of Radio Maine, including interviews with artists like Emma Ballou, on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're near Portland, Maine, I hope you'll join us in person at the Portland Art Gallery, where we hold monthly openings for our artists. In the coming months, we'll also be launching a virtual book circle and live Radio Maine events. Until next time, I'm Dr. Lisa Belisle, and this is Radio Maine. Take care of yourself. Be gentle with your becoming. Let's keep walking the Bountiful path together.